ziua, sunt Bogdan Alecu și bine ați venit la o nouă ediție a emisiunii Check Bank pentru Afaceri Românești. Discutăm despre piața industrială astăzi, cât de atractivă este România în continuare și încotro se îndreaptă. Îl avem invitat astăzi alături de noi pe Ronald Binkofski, Managing Director al CTP România. Hello Ronald, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Ronald, it's been almost 1 year, around 1 year, since you became Managing Director of CTP in Romania.
Exactly 1 year. On the 15th of August, it's going to be 1 year. Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
How was it? How was it this year? Was it better than you expected?
For me, it was a learning year also, right? So it's not that easy for me to compare how the past was in this particular industry. I've been in many other industries before. But to me, this year was a little bit a year of question marks, because on one hand side you hear all about the economy, what's happening around geopolitically, economically. On the other side you see a lot of work which we have to do. We are still constructing, we are having a lot of requests from companies, usually early stage, then they decide, they move away, they come back and so on. So I would say like that, if you would listen only to the bad news from outside, you would say, oh, what's going to happening? But from the perspective of how much we leased, how busy we were over the last year, I was very surprised and very positively surprised.
So it's better than you expected?
Yes, yes. I was again, I've been talking to many conferences and so on. I see a long prospect for Romania is very good. For me, no question. And I can explain later on how I particularly look at it. But short term, of course, there are always sometimes challenges. And I was expecting a tough year. Oil price started to go up. Customers start to feel this. And when the customer feel it, their business is a little bit weaker. That's all true. But still, the work around warehouses, new incomers with production mostly into Transylvania and to West Romania, that still has been very, very good. And I mean, it reflects mostly how much we do new work for the country. We are currently probably will deliver additional 200,000 of square meter of new spaces, which we started some of them earlier, but some recently, and it doesn't look like we will be very, very much slowing down. Maybe not 200 next year, but we're still in a good shape of continuing to create.
But on the other hand, we've seen construction prices going up, but the rent prices haven't.
That's a challenge for the industry, right? So this is like, of course, you have the inflation, you have the price increase, but I also look at this like Romania becomes much more mature market than it has been before. It was an under-delivered market. Now, there is a lot of competition. We are the biggest, we feel it, because, when you're the biggest, you only have enemies, right? So we feel them on the daily basis. But on the other side, if you look on the markets like Hungary, like Poland and whatever, they are probably from the maturity from our industry perspective already a step further. You see things like that happening. And Romania is particular because usually the prices go up and then they go down. In Romania, it always was relatively stagnating. But I have to say that I don't see it as a negative development, rather as a maturity of the market is improving and increasing. And with the new opportunity which are coming in, I would say on a midterm, I think we will see also better business for us from the top line perspective.
Was it hard to attract partners like Leroy Merlin or FM Logistic to invest in additional warehouses?
No, that was actually more, what was hard was the discussion how to do it, but the decision for investing to Romania were done, and they were actually based on not only on short-term or past performance, but also on the prediction what's going to happen. So no, that wasn't difficult.
How hard or easy is it to convince the shareholders to give you money to invest in Romania, to expand?
So first of all, we've been expanding in Romania like hell, I would say, and we are currently nearly twice as big as our second in the row, right? So we really good, and we spread around the country. We still have a little bit lack of presence in East Romania. So attracting money and investing into Romania wasn't a challenge. Today, I would say like that. The challenge is in general, not for Romania in particular, but in general, because money started to be pretty expensive, right? So you need to have a very different economy of business before you decide. And also, a little bit there is feeling like, can we predict what's going to be in 10 years, 15 years from now? Our industry is related to long-term investments, right? If you build a factory for a long time. And I think that gave a little bit of new considerations. How well can we predict? How fast can we go? And how many checkpoints we have to have on the road ahead in order to go full speed? And I think that's a challenge. Romania, from the perspective of money return, from the purely investment perspective, is not the best. It's somewhere, I would say, in the middle. There are places which are growing the equity much faster, but it's not bad. And that's why we are continuing to invest. And as you see, I mean, today, 200,000 square meters is a small-size player on the market. We bring a new small-size player from that perspective on the market.
Each year?
Each year, actually, yeah, for years to go.
Do you still have discussions for investment that want a production facility?
Yes, absolutely. We are currently, I mean, I don't want to disclose details, but I think 5 projects which we are very close to do over the next 2 years, where we will be building exactly this, factories of the size of 10 to 15,000 square meters for foreign companies who will be producing still in Romania. The great thing around is it's not anymore cheap labor. It is really, really coming immediately with higher quality of productions, with which much further up part of the production, process, so on. And also, all the companies which were working with us, even those who have troubles a little bit like automotive, they are extending, because what happened in Romania, and I think the country should be very proud of that, the quality of products and the quality of execution which is happening in Romania improved significantly. And nobody looks in Romania like, okay, let's go there because we can do it cheaper. No, we go there because we can bring actually the things to exactly the same level, exactly in the quality, sometimes even better than we did in our home locations. So we see it still continuing, and I'm actually not expecting this to slow down.
The most recent, I think, was EWIS.
EWIS was in Oradea. That's a company which built chain for automotives for all, and they beautiful building, beautiful extension, and they are very, very happy. It's a company which is located with its headquarters in Munich. I visited them. So they even bring research and development down here. So small portions, but it's a start. The other one is Den, which we just opened the build, or we did an opening party for the building, because the building is already in production in Pitești.
Okay.
And then does lightning protection on industrial level.
Wow, okay. But on the other hand, we're talking about energy being very expensive in Romania.
True. But we are serving our customers also with solar energy.
Okay.
And I think if someone would be making decisions on today it's expensive, tomorrow not, that would be a poor job. I think that the situations with energy in Romania are going to settle, and there will be a lot of initiatives. You see that the battery business is growing, right? Yeah. The renewable energies are growing, and so on and so on. I think we have a general, in not only in Europe, but probably in the whole world, a new thinking around energy. And of course, short term, you still see this old style things. Even in Poland, we still have a coal-generated energy and so on, which shouldn't be anymore in place and so on. And I'm coming from this region, from Silesian region in Poland. I think it's an in-between time right now. And energy is topic, I think it's a topic number 1 on everyone's mouth right now. Also for CTP, we're looking into this topic with a lot of attention. What should be for us the next step around it? Because our customers will be using more. And I think it's a great opportunity to serve them better with energy. So, yeah.
Are the projects becoming more complex? I don't know, offices for R&D.
That's what, yeah. So that's something which we spent last half a year with the team. Actually, what we said to ourselves, a little bit in a funny way, we said, we have to stop building those boring buildings. We need to start building buildings which are also appealing, you know, from the end user perspective. And if anyone drives today in the direction to Pitești and you're passing our park, which is on the right hand side, there is the longest building in Europe with 1,100 meters. It's not ready yet, but we will be doing much different facades on the office places. And also when I'm talking today to industrial companies, I'm trying to serve them with an idea to build a headquarter for the company, not only a production plant. You know, so it's very different, because when you do a headquarter, you build a nice part of the building with offices. You want those people to be representative, not only from what they do there, but also visually to the world outside, right? And so we're spending a lot of time working with some local architects, which are excellent. We redo some of our buildings even. So yeah, I think this is something which probably, as usual, CTP will drive and the competition will follow. But that's the future. I think everyone wants to see the parks as a place to be. And if you go to the most famous parks, which is we call it Kilometer 23 in direction to Pitești, you see that we build this one as a place for people to live, not only to work but be there. And you have some services, you have restaurant, you have grocery shops. And actually, what happened, which is funny, the surrounding villages treat this place also as a meeting place. People go there for shopping, people go for eating and so on. There are sports facilities. So I think this is the future of industrial parks, not like a building somewhere standing and doing only what it was usually supposed to do, but also being a social environment.
Is it also an income source for you?
Actually, we don't look at this like that. We feel...
Why not? It's good for the business.
Of course, we can sometimes, when there is need for offices, we build like that. But I don't look at this like that. I look at this like, this is I tell you a story. When we ask a tenant, listen, come to us because you have all these facilities, they don't appreciate that really in the first place. They say, yeah, but I need a warehouse. Once they're with us, they don't want to leave. We say, this is actually a very different experience. People who work there, they don't want to leave. They say, no, we stay here because it's beautiful, and we don't want to go to those places distant without any infrastructure for daily life. You know, so I treat it much more like an let's say experience for our customers. Our core business is to do the building, right, and feel great there, and we will do good business. So that's the philosophy I'm having.
You also have a background in tech, in technology.
Yes, oh yeah. That's actually for 30 years.
Is it helping you?
Yes, and mostly it helps me first of all to understand what to do to run the company, because you're very knowledgeable in that sense, how to utilize the IT tools for operations, for being fast. But with AI coming in and with the opportunities you have, and the last thing I did, I was running a development house with 600 engineers who did AI. So I'm relatively knowledgeable on that. I think you already can see these opportunities which are coming in time ahead and moving the organization to utilize it for our business. And I think that's a enormous opportunity if you do it smart, if you don't overdo it, if you do it in the right moment with the right pace, always having the economical aspect in the background, and that's what I always did. So it helps me a lot. Yeah.
Because I see now these parks like very complex places. You have not just the warehouse, you have the facilities, you have the solar panels. Maybe you'll have some batteries in the future.
Absolutely, but I would go much more further. Because this is the infrastructure, but you have also customers who do very different things, and I think there is a huge opportunity to bring these two worlds together. It's like I think it's an undiscovered area where first of all, there's a lot of data, right? From the customers, from the surroundings, from that. And you know that data is the currency in artificial intelligence, in all the IT aspects. And I think this is completely undiscovered. And at the end of the day, this collaboration and the synergies are not explored yet to the right level. Currently, we are the ones who build the buildings, the customer doesn't build it. But there are a lot of interconnections which we can utilize. And I think that through the technologies, through the AI models, which will allow to analyze data and really figure it out in a simple way. So basically, to make this complexity, which you mentioned, simple, understandable, in order to have a great ideas for business, I think that's a great opportunity for the future.
Because also the warehouses will have robots inside.
Of course they will. They already have. You have, I mean, I think you visited with us the big warehouses, LPP. There are robots already. There are dark areas where robots are handling the materials on how high storage and so on and so on. This is not done by people anymore. It was always too dangerous. Today the robots does it and so on. So this kind of automation is coming more and more. In Romania, it's not yet that common. I think because the economy of people versus robots was still on the side of people, but it's changing very rapidly. And this is a great development. And of course, everyone says, yeah, we're losing jobs. No, you will do better jobs and more demanding job, which will allow people to develop better. I've seen it in the IT industry so many times, and in this industry, it's happening exactly the same, just in the different areas.
Are you going to have batteries, not just solar panels?
We are looking into it. We are looking into it, and I think it's a very, very, very important topic. I mean, I would say like that, if you would ask me 2 years ago, I would say, oh, let's wait, right? Today, the battery starts to have a performance which is really, really good. And with this, we can start, you know, with solar panels serving customers at 24/7, right? We were always dependent on the daylight, but I think this is the way to go. So if I would bet, probably we will have very soon batteries. We have few already testing, right? But we might have it on the industrial level.
Will the data center be the next level, or is it too soon?
Data center is currently, to me, not yet discovered for our industry, right? Because if you think of a data center, it's a lot of energy, it's a lot of IT servers inside, and it's a lot of connectivity to the internet. The building itself is actually the smallest part in all of that, right? So for our industry, either we will start to expand beyond the building itself, or we will need to find another way. Maybe with energy together, we will find a model. So we're looking into it. We have few data centers, not in Romania until now, but I'm getting more and more requests on that. What's happening right now, mostly you find plots with good energy connectivity, and everyone thinks this is the data center. Data center starts with the demand for the data, right? As the name says. People forget about it. So you need to have someone who needs to place the storage and the operational part of data, and then you can talk about the plot, you can talk about the energy connectivity and whatever. So of course that's gonna happen because because this is what is inevitable with the amount of data we are creating. Currently, the hyper providers, hyper cloud provider like Microsoft, like Oracle, like Google, Amazon, whatever, they are taking this space, but more and more data independence and backup data, topics like that, which are in the IT industry for many, many years, becoming a different spin. And sooner or later, it's going to happen. But I think it's early stage in Romania yet.
Because we've seen many companies implement AI, like you don't talk to a man or a woman anymore. You talk to a robot, but the robot sounds human.
Yes. But this is the simplest scenario, right? This is like a bot which interprets a little bit the voice and simulates. I think much bigger opportunities are coming with research development, with optimizing supply chain processes much stronger than they are today. They are anyway already nicely digitalized, but I think still is the let's be clear. In the IT industry, data centers are here already for years. If you go to hosters who were serving customers with hosting the IT environment, they had data centers. So it's not something new. The demand on the data centers today to run the AI environment with enormous amount of data and this enormous processing power, that's what drives it to the next level, right? But the economy behind it is also not yet figured out, to be honest, right? In some places, yes, in some not. Artificial intelligence has been used in research development around medicine for years, right? Neuron chains in development of IT applications has been done already for years, right? But today what we see that those kind of technologies start to be democratized, so everyone has access. In a small way, we can, instead of to go to a normal search engine, we can use some AI-driven search engines, we get much better results and so on and so on. I think it's a starting point. It didn't even really start. So coming back to the data centers, we also in the early stage, and we are trying to discover how to do it the best that CTP can be part of that game. And for sure, it's not going to be the building only. We need to go beyond our obvious in order to play a role here. That's how I will describe it.
And I've seen also a very big interest towards the Orient, towards the East, Asia, especially now with all this crisis around Iran. Everybody was looking for routes around it to move shipment, and also CTP is investing in Vietnam.
If you observe CTP for a few years, we are famous for one thing. We always look for new markets. And the company is step by step extending its footprint, right? The biggest market for CTP still are Czech and Romania. We are the biggest countries. But we moved now to Italy last year. Now I think we are very close to be in Vietnam, right? So I think that comes with our owner, or let's say CEO, Raymond Vos, who from the very beginning was like a discoverer, and he's running ahead, you know. When I talk to him, every time I say, Ronald, do you have an idea? Maybe Morocco, maybe elsewhere, right? So this is the one thing, but on the other side also, Far East is the big market, is the market which you have to be. And the reason for that, first of all, the weight of the market there from China to the surrounding markets is changing a lot, and the surrounding countries are becoming stronger and more vital, and the returns are very high. Secondly, you have more and more international companies, so Chinese companies in Europe, European companies in China, and they want to be served better, right? So if someone has us as a supplier in Europe and goes to Asia, they actually would come to us and say, listen, do you have anything there? Because we're planning to go there. Can we work together? Because they know that we are very good operating on those markets. And it's not easy, you know, if your core business is not building the infrastructure, and we are good in building infrastructure, then they are going to us. Then they are saying, okay, we go, we bet. And then from there, it's extending. That's how we grew also in Europe for years, right? So.
But do you compete for the money, for investments, or
internally? Of course. We have always a decision to be made where to plug the money, right? That's natural, because every company has a limited resources. We are investing a lot every year, and like any business, we always look for the best opportunity. And so it's never a given scenario. It's always, you know, like let's see what is on the table. Where can we deploy our money? What is better today? What do we see to come in a year from now, and so on, so on. This is obvious, right?
Because you were also mentioning not just Asia, you were mentioning Western Europe,
yes,
like Italy.
Yeah.
Also, in the last conference I had with Nepi Rockcastle, they were mentioning new investments in Spain.
Yeah.
Is the Western Europe now a new competitor for us for capital?
I wouldn't say so. I think it's like parallel. I mean, first of all, Eastern Europe is developing, will develop for a long time, because there's still a lot to be done. But that doesn't mean that Western Europe is standing still and nothing happening there, right? That's. I think the impression has been built over the last years that Western Europe is already gone, and the only place where to do is Eastern Europe. It's not. I think we all forget that Western Europe are the, I think, most powerful consumer market in the world, US and Western Europe, right? And that comes from something, right? And it's so I think that in order to keep the right balance, you need to have both, right? Because if the Western Europe is stagnating, people will start to use less and less and less. Sooner or later, those who produce, there are no place to send this stuff, right? And I think the whole economy of the last years has been built on relatively cheap production and supplying the strong consumer markets. That was a big portion of the growth of the last years, which gave a big growth to China and other countries, right? In order to, where you see also the local economy growing fast and so on and so on. So I don't think that Western Europe, I'm very, very optimistic in regard to Europe. Everyone says Europe is too slow, Europe is too...
Exactly.
That's true, that's true. I think Europe has to learn a lot from all the fast, economies like Far East or even Africa and so on. But I think that Europe has always been very good in execution. Europe was always very good in keeping the things strong from sustainability point of view. From if something has been done, it was for a long period of time. So I think both sides have their strengths, and they together might be much stronger. And while Europe has to learn a little bit from the speed of the East needs to learn a little bit more the structured and well-executed things of Europe, and all together can prosper and prosper good. And I think this is what's happening right now. You have companies, you rarely find companies who are only Western European companies. Of course, they are local companies, but those who are on an international game, they're always playing in both teams. So I'm positive about Europe. I know that I'm probably one of the of those who have such a view, but to me Europe has still a lot of potential. That's why you see right now a revival in Spain. You see a lot of happening also in Italy right now, which was already long-term forgotten, because also the geopolitics drives things. Italy gets now the boost because Middle East is in trouble and things like that. So I wouldn't be always very definitive of what you see today. I think they are and let's be honest. If you would look, if you would be here in 2016, and you would say, okay, would we ever predict the developments of the last 10 years? I don't think so. COVID, new wars, US as it is, and so on. So nobody will predict it. Nobody really. And we are now in a very different world, and we know how to. And people will always adapt. Business will adapt. So I'm very, very positive actually about all of that.
But for example, you were mentioning 2016 as a starting point. But for example, I've read books like that they say they can predict the future in some way. And for example, one of them was saying that Poland will become a regional player, regional power, the same as Turkey. And they did. And we have such new players that were small in the past, but they grew fast. They're attracting investments.
Look,
even with all these problems.
Look. It's always easy to explain the past, right? Because you can build a theory to that, right? So predicting the future is very difficult, right?
Yeah.
Of course, if someone was taking a look at Eastern Europe and would say, okay, we have only two candidates for becoming a regional big player. That was Ukraine and Poland.
Yeah.
Right? And why? Because of the size of the population. Simple, right? And of course, Ukraine was in a very different system, was not as connected to European Union, it was not part of European Union and so on. So if you now, being smart in 2016, said it was a natural way that Poland will get to this point. But I give you another story. If I started working in Eastern Europe professionally mid of 90s. At that time, the stars were Hungary and Czech, right? And you were wondering, why is Poland I mean, the biggest country and whatever. But for me, it was so obvious at that time because I said, okay, we didn't have this close connection to Germany as Czech has or Hungary to Austria. We were much more distant from that, right? Not only economically, but culturally, we were a little bit far distant. So Czechs are much closer to Germany than Poles. But at that time, even I thought, but sooner or later we will overcome them because we just, you know, Warsaw is too small for the. If you look today at Warsaw, Warsaw is the city. When I started living in Warsaw, it was around 1.5 million people for 40 million population. Prague proportionally to Czech is much bigger. Bucharest proportionally to the population of Romania is much bigger. So if you would have asked me then, and what I did, I bought a property in Warsaw because I said there's no other way that Warsaw will grow. And I was lucky in that, right? Yeah. So sometimes not thinking too much, but just looking at the obvious things gives you a good prediction in the future. For example, and that's what I'm repeating everywhere, if you look today at Romania in context of Europe, Eastern Europe, right? There is no other way than Romania will have a positive growth over the next years and have a good development, despite if maybe next year we will have some turbulences. Why? Because if you look at the east flank of Romania, it's underdeveloped. Road infrastructure is not yet there. Not talking about the railroad infrastructure and so on and so on. So those basics are giving so much room for improvement that it's going to happen, right? The next step is always a little bit more challenging. How we move from this to service economies or things like that. So sometimes I think we are over-engineering our thinking. And of course, there are happenings, which I don't know, different names for that, which we cannot predict. Like a war in Ukraine, nobody predicted, right? Okay, some people would always say, yeah, Ukraine, that was sooner or later would have to happen. But I think nobody would ever listen to them, you know, and things like, would you ever expect such a development on the right and left, this in the politics? But actually, if you look historically, that always happened. It always happened that with the development of the society, this kind of stuff happens, right?
Because a part of the population accelerates? Exactly.
They live good, and then it starts to be protective to what it has. And you have the divide, you know, and if you think it's always the divide on wealth, and the wealth is more accumulated in the upper part, and the upper part starts to be smaller proportionally. That has to happen in the history of human beings many, many times. So I think if someone wants to predict the future, it's good to read a book about societies, right?
Right.
Yeah, and then you probably 80% right, and then the next 20% are those happenings which nobody can predict, right? Any natural diseases, any geopolitical craziness which you never predict, you know, and that's it.
You're mentioning the Chinese. We see now an invasion in the car industry. I don't know. I'm calculating almost doubling the number of brands in Europe with all the Chinese brands coming here. Some of them want local production.
They have to, actually.
Yeah, but when you bring a new brand, you also have logistics for components.
Absolutely.
Is this the new source for growth in logistics and warehouses?
I think so. That's happening already for some time, especially in the Hungarian, Romanian area. You have a lot of production plants for automotive. Poland as well, Czech also, Slovakia. They're building sometimes on top of the previous investment in those areas. So I think this is natural. This is natural, and everyone looks at the big ones, right? Like BYD went to Hungary recently, right? I'm always looking a little bit around that, you know. So because the supply chain ecosystem is a great opportunity for my company to serve them. And so when we hear that someone big starts to plan Romania, I'm immediately jumping on the ecosystem around it. And that's a good way of attracting new customers. And but you are absolutely right. This is what happens with such an investment. You have a huge supply chain ecosystem coming with it. And also, I think we are living in the world, and I'm coming from this industry, where everyone is, you know, it's so nice to talk about all the Googles of this world, right? But we still live in the physical world, and And I remember myself when I first time went to a big warehouse, which I was renting myself for Honeywell. And first time I stand in a warehouse of 30,000 square meters, which I rented on the paper. I've never been there. And once I stand there, I understood what I did, you know, and I was overwhelmed with the size. So people who work in the IT industry, even if they talk about big things, it's all on the screen, and you know, and it's very, very virtual. Once you go down to the reality, you understand that the world is much more balanced than we think. Okay? And that's what it is.
Did you have any discussions with Chinese companies?
Oh yeah, a lot of requests for production, for different industries, machinery, and yeah. We will see. You will see a lot of them here, I think.
Do you think we're going to be part of a next wave? Because Hungary seems to attract many Chinese investments, but
yeah, but Hungary was attracting them because of good politics at that time for this particular purpose, right? I'm not saying the politics was good, but it was for that. I think Romania was a little bit less attractive, but it's changing. I think on the long run, the whole plateau around Hungary, West Romania, will be very, very good for them, because this is the place where you can produce, you can serve the Europe very nicely. Infrastructure is good, very well connected. I think we will see that.
Do you expect you to have US CTP, I mean, any competition from Chinese developers maybe? Or Chinese logistic companies coming here?
I don't
maybe
think so.
Having them not as competitors as tenants.
As tenants, yes, we already have Chinese companies as tenants, so they are already here. One of the examples is in Timișoara Hexim, which builds controls for I think for metering or something like that, right? No, you have them here. So as a customers, absolutely. I don't think that they will come as the developer of warehouses. That would be a big surprise to me, actually.
To come to Europe.
Yes, yeah. They might try to own buildings for their purpose, but a developer of this, I can't envision it. Maybe because I'm very young in this industry. I'm only 1 year here, so.
But I mean, you're young in the industry, but you've been in the tech industry during a mass transformation, a big transformation. Now you are in the logistics and warehouses industry, and now we're going through a big transformation, because we're not just discussing warehouses, simple buildings. Now they're beginning to be more complex.
I maybe was lucky because I started in the IT industry, you know. So the topic like transformation, topic like changing business models was from the day one. So to me, it's so natural that I'm not even expecting that how we do the business today will be the same in 10 years from now. Absolutely not. To me, even an industry where you put a building where you store stuff, it's gonna develop different models, different ideas, and so on and so on. So. So we need to be ready for that, right? And it's I think it's in a natural way, this industry will be developing what the customer need and what the opportunities are. I'm very, not against, but I'm usually very skeptical to, you know, sitting and building plans like, you know, like that. I think much more observing the business and finding the trends which can be addressed with the new offerings. This is the way how you should develop the next steps in your business, right? And I think one of the topics which is underdeveloped is digital buildings and things like that, more sensors. But it needs to make sense also, right? If you store simple stuff, let's call it, I don't know, tires, whatever. What do you need for that? You don't over-engineer, right? Make it smart, make it the right thing for the right purpose, right? And that's what it is. Of course, if the technology is growing and giving new opportunities, you should utilize it. Like we talked about artificial intelligence, you know, so a utilization of data, finding new things. But also being pragmatic, being down to the earth is a strong capability. And I like this one because with this you can serve people better, stronger, by over-engineering, you sometimes, you destroy the simplicity. And I tend to believe it. I think someone told me years ago, and I strongly believe this. If you cannot describe the business model you're in with one sentence, so probably you don't understand your business model yourself.
How would you describe it in one sentence?
For us,
Yeah.
our business model is to build a building which we maintain and give to our customers. It's a very simple statement, right? Of course, this has very implications how you do it, and it's sometimes it's very complex. But principally, this is what we do. This is what we do. We are building buildings which we have to maintain in a very good shape, so our customers are feeling in those buildings well and can do their business. No more, no less.
Do you sign for longer terms now?
Of course.
Contracts?
10, 15 years.
Wow, 15, it's a lot.
It's mostly in the production area, but it happens.
Okay. When is CTP going to reach 5 million square meters in Romania?
5 million.
5 million.
We are currently around 3.4 million, probably. That's the wrong. So it will take some time. I think we need to probably wait for the, difficult to say, but I would say, let's call it 8 years. Okay.
Because the market grew a lot in we're more than 8 million.
Look, we are not growing buildings for buildings purposes. We're growing the buildings because the business needs it, right? So saying we could build very fast, and we are, I think, one of the companies which always gives a wow from the customer when we say in 6 months the building gonna be ready, and they say yeah, and then they come and say it's ready, right? A recent example, and I'm still getting emails from the general manager of Den who says, Ronald, I still cannot believe it, you did it on time, right? But you don't build buildings just to have this building standing. This building is only really in this business model which I described to you, is only playing a role when there is a tenant inside, right? So if the business is slowing down, we will not build more buildings because it doesn't make sense, right? But if the business will be growing fast, then the needs for facilities is growing, and then we will speed up, right? So I think it's correlated to the growth of the country, growth of the economy, right?
Yeah. How do you see Romania in the second half?
Second half of the year?
Yeah.
I think it's not going to be easy for Romania. It's not going to be easy, simple, because few things from the past are hitting now at the same time. So I guess it's going to be a modest year, and we have to live with that. But if you ask me a little bit further on, I'm pretty confident that soon we're going to get over it and start going up again.
What's the most important thing you've learned about Romania in the last year?
Important thing. I know Romania for
surprising thing.
For 16 years. I started living even in Romania 16 years ago and coming in and out over the years. So nothing really surprises me. Because I know Romania. I know, and I've been running Honeywell in Romania. I've been with Microsoft for several years here now with CTP. No, Romania is like home to me, so I'm not surprised. I know what it is, what's happening. So what I really was positively surprised is two ways. The infrastructure improved significantly, and you don't see it if you live every day, but if you are not, for some time, we're always, you see this. And what was even better surprise is that from the people perspective, it didn't change much. And the most funny stuff was I was always picked up during the Microsoft time from the airport by I think I don't know the company exactly, but black Mercedes are picking you up. And recently I was picked up and the guy said, "What are you doing here?" I said, "I was driving you at Microsoft." I said, "No, now I'm CTP." The same person 16 years ago, and we still know each other. So I love it.
That's very good. And on this note, thank you very much for the interview.
My pleasure.
And best of luck.
Thank you very much. To you as well.
Thank you. Mulțumesc foarte mult și telespectatorilor noștri și vă doresc o zi bună în continuare. La revedere!